The cargo manifest showed 300 crates of medical supplies and 40 tons of grain. Simple stuff. The kind of shipment that kept independent traders alive in the outer sectors where the big corporations wouldn't bother going. Drevis checked the numbers again on his datapad while his ship, the Steady Prophet, hummed through deep space at a comfortable cruise speed. "Another 2 hours to the beacon, Captain," Rena said from the navigation console. Her 4 arms worked the controls with practiced ease, typical of the Kaltorian species. "Then we jumped to the colony system." Drevis nodded. 30 years he'd been running cargo through these routes, never lost a shipment, never lost a crew member. That record mattered more to him than profit margins. The colonies needed these supplies. People were sick out there. Children were hungry. This wasn't just business. "Tilly, any chatter on the comm channels?" he asked. The human communications officer glanced up from her station. Humans were still rare this far out. Most stayed closer to their home systems. But Tilly had wanted adventure, and Drevis had needed someone good with languages. She spoke 17 of them now. "Nothing unusual," she said. "Standard traffic. A few mining vessels reporting in. The usual complaints about equipment failures." Drevis settled back in his command chair. The Steady Prophet wasn't much to look at. 40 years old, patched hull plating, engines that rattled when pushed too hard. But she was reliable. That counted for something. The asteroid field appeared on the scanners right on schedule. Drevis had flown through it dozens of times. The rocks were big enough to make navigation interesting, but not dangerous if you paid attention. He was about to order Rena to take them through when every alarm on the bridge started screaming at once. 3 ships materialized from behind the larger asteroids. They'd been hiding there, running silent, waiting. The sensor profile lit up Drevis's screen with hostile markers. "Viren Raiders," Rena shouted, her voice cracking with fear. Drevis felt his stomach drop. Viren pirates were the worst kind. They didn't just steal cargo, they took crews, sold them as slaves across the lawless systems where nobody asked questions. He'd heard stories, seen the aftermath once on a ship they'd hit. It had given him nightmares for months. "Shields up, evasive pattern," he ordered, gripping his armrests. The Steady Prophet lurched as Rena threw them into a hard turn. The ship groaned in protest. She wasn't built for combat maneuvers. The shields flickered to life, a weak bubble of energy that might stop a few hits. Might. Energy fire streaked past the viewscreen. The pirates weren't aiming to disable them yet. They were hurting them, cutting off escape routes. Professional, experienced. This wasn't their first hunt. "Return fire," Drevis ordered, knowing it was useless. The Steady Prophet had exactly 2 defensive guns. Old models, short range. They fired anyway, bolts of plasma that scattered harmlessly against the raiders' shields. The pirates probably didn't even notice. "They're surrounding us," Rena said. Her hands trembled on the controls. "Captain, we can't outrun them. We can't outgun them." Drevis knew she was right. The largest raider vessel moved into position directly ahead. It was 3 times their size, covered in weapon batteries and armor plating. A voice crackled over the comm channel, deep, rough, amused. "Unknown vessel, this is Commander Gulrath of the free ship Bloody Fortune. Cut your engines and prepare to be boarded. Resist and we will destroy you. Your choice." The bridge fell silent except for the alarm system still wailing. Drevis looked at his crew. 5 people who trusted him to keep them safe. 5 people who would be sold like cattle if he made the wrong call. "Captain," Rena whispered, "what do we do?" Drevis closed his eyes. 30 years without losing anyone. That record was about to end. He reached for the comm button, ready to order the engines cut, when Tilly's voice cut through the tension. "Sir, I'm picking up something on long-range sensors. Ship signature incoming fast, very fast." "Another raider?" Drevis asked, the hope in his chest dying before it could fully form. Tilly's fingers flew across her console. She pulled up the sensor data, enhanced it, ran it through the identification database. Her eyes went wide. No, sir, it's not VRIN. The signature is registered to human military. Designation HSS Relentless. Drevis felt confusion wash over him. Humans had military ships. He'd never seen one, never even heard of them deploying warships this far from their core systems. Humans were traders, diplomats, scientists. They talked their way out of problems. Everyone knew that. On the main view screen, the lead raider vessel turned slightly. They'd picked up the same reading. Gulrath's voice came through again, but this time there was an edge to it. Hold position. We have this under control. The pirate ships adjusted their formation. They kept the steady profit in their crosshairs but shifted to face the incoming vessel. Drevis watched the sensor display as the unknown ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel. The human warship appeared on visual. It was smaller than the raider flagship but built completely different. Where the pirate vessels were blocky and crude, this ship was sleek. Dark hull plating, clean lines, and weapon ports. So many weapon ports. Rena made a small sound in her throat. Captain, that's a lot of guns for one ship. The human vessel moved closer, not hurrying, not hesitating, confident. The sensor readings showed it was scanning all 4 ships in the area, processing, calculating. Tilly was staring at her console with an expression Drevis couldn't quite read. Fear? No, something else. Recognition, maybe. Tilly, he asked, what is it? She looked up at him, and now he could see what the expression was. It was relief mixed with something that looked almost like pity, but not for them. Captain, humans don't deploy warships often. We prefer to talk, to negotiate, to find peaceful solutions. She paused, watching the human vessel settle into position. But when we do send warships, when we decide words aren't enough anymore, it's because someone crossed a line that can't be uncrossed. On the view screen, targeting sensors from the human ship began lighting up the pirate vessels. Not just general scans, weapon locks, precise, methodical, overwhelming. The pirate tactical officer's panicked voice cut through the comm channel, loud enough for everyone to hear. Commander Gulrath, sensors are going crazy. That ship just established target locks on every critical system we have. All 3 vessels. Simultaneously. Sir, that's impossible. No single ship has that kind of processing power. Gulrath's response was a snarl. Then their sensors are malfunctioning. Prepare to fire on my command. Drevis watched the human warship hang in space, dark and quiet and absolutely lethal. Somewhere on that vessel, people were making decisions. Human people. He'd shared meals with Tilly, played strategy games with her during long flights. She was kind, thoughtful, smart. What kind of weapons did kind people build when they decided violence was the only answer left? The human ship's comm channel opened. A calm voice filled the bridge. Male, professional, utterly devoid of fear or anger. Pirate vessels, this is Commander Owen Hayes of the Human Space Service ship Relentless. You are ordered to power down weapons and release the merchant vessel immediately. This is your only warning. Gulrath laughed. The sound was ugly and mean. Human, you're outnumbered 3-1. Stand down before we add your crew to our cargo. Silence stretched across the void. Then Owen's voice came back, and this time there was something cold underneath the professional tone, something that made Drevis's blood run ice cold. So be it. Every screen on the Steady Profits bridge suddenly lit up with targeting data. The human ship had gone from standby to full combat status in less than a heartbeat. Gulrath had raided 47 vessels in his career. He'd fought off naval patrols from 3 different species. He'd survived encounters that should have killed him twice over. Experience taught him when to press an advantage and when to retreat. Right now, every instinct screamed that something was wrong. His tactical officer, a young Viren named Skarn, kept checking and rechecking the sensor data like he couldn't believe what he was seeing. Commander, the targeting locks are still active. All of them. Their computer must be quantum-based or something beyond our tech level. I've never seen processing like this. Gulrath leaned forward in his chair. The human warship floated there on the view screen. Quiet and dark except for the weapon ports that glowed with ready energy. It hadn't moved since dropping out of FTL. Hadn't tried to run or maneuver into a better position. It just sat there like it had all the time in the universe. That confidence bothered him more than threats would have. All ships fire warning shots across their bow, Gulrath ordered. Show these humans what real firepower looks like. The 3 raider vessels opened up simultaneously. Plasma bolts and missile trails cut through space, designed to pass close enough to make a point but not actually hit. It was a classic intimidation tactic. Most merchant vessels would panic. Even some military ships would flinch. The human ship moved. 1 second it was stationary. The next it had rotated 30 degrees on its axis and slipped sideways through space with impossible grace. The warning shots passed through empty vacuum where it had been moments before. The remaining fire that actually came close splashed against shields that barely flickered from the impact. Skarn's hands froze over his console. That acceleration. Commander, that's not possible. The G-forces alone should have killed everyone on board. Their inertial dampeners must be more advanced, Gulrath said, but even he could hear the uncertainty in his own voice. The human ship completed its maneuver and settled back into a stationary position. Still hadn't fired. Still hadn't even raised its voice over the comm channel. The silence was worse than battle fury. It spoke of control, of measured response, of someone who knew exactly how much force they could bring to bear and was choosing not to. Yet, Gulrath's comm lit up with a priority channel from his other 2 ships. Commander, request permission to withdraw, one of his captains said, voice tight with fear. Something is very wrong here. Denied, Gulrath snapped. We outnumber them. We outgun them. One lucky dodge doesn't change the mathematics of combat. But did they outgun this human ship? Gulrath pulled up the weapons analysis on his personal screen. The human vessel's profile showed at least 40 separate weapons batteries. That couldn't be right. A ship that size shouldn't be able to mount that much firepower without sacrificing shields and engines. Yet the sensor data didn't lie. Every one of those weapons showed as active and charged. The human commander's voice came through again, still calm, still professional. Pirate vessels, you fired on a human space service ship. That was unwise. I am authorized to respond with appropriate force. Stand down now or face the consequences. Gulrath felt his pride surge up over his fear. He hadn't built his reputation by backing down from threats. The merchant vessel was right there, full of supplies he could sell. The human ship was alone, 3 against 1. The odds were still in his favor. All vessels target the human ship. Full broadside, fire on my mark. His weapons officer looked at him with wide eyes. Commander, if we miss. We won't miss at this range, fire. The 3 raider ships unleashed everything they had. Plasma cannons, missile batteries, rail guns, energy torpedoes. Enough firepower to crack open a station's shields. The space between them and the human vessel filled with destruction. The human ship didn't dodge this time. It accelerated directly into the attack, shields flaring brilliant blue as they absorbed the incoming fire. But instead of weakening, the shield strength readings actually seemed to stabilize. Like the ship was designed to take this kind of punishment without breaking a sweat. Then it fired back. The first raider vessel, the one to Gulrath's left, simply stopped working. One moment it was shooting, engines burning, systems active. The next moment it was dead in space, coasting on momentum alone. No explosion, no hull breach, just complete systems failure. Skarn pulled up the damage report from the stricken vessel. Commander, they're still alive. Hull integrity intact, but every major system is offline. Engines, weapons, even life support is on emergency backup. How did the humans do that with such precision? The second raider vessel tried to run. Its captain had clearly seen enough. The ship rotated hard and started to burn for the edge of the combat zone where it could jump to FTL. The human warship matched its acceleration effortlessly, pulled alongside like they were racing, and fired again. More surgical strikes. The fleeing vessel's engines guttered and died. Its weapons arrays sparked and went dark, all within 5 seconds. Now it was just Gulrath's flagship against the human ship. His crew looked at him, waiting for orders. Fear had replaced the confidence in their eyes. They just watched 2 warships get disabled so quickly and cleanly it looked like a training exercise. Not a battle, an execution. Gulrath's mouth felt dry. His hands trembled slightly on his command chair's armrests. Pride warred with survival instinct. He'd never surrendered. Never. But he'd also never fought an enemy that treated 3-to-1 odds like a minor inconvenience. The human ship moved again, gliding closer to his flagship with unhurried purpose. It positioned itself directly off their port side, close enough that Gulrath could see the individual weapon batteries tracking his ship's critical systems. Each one locked on a different target. Engines, shield generators, weapons, communications, life support, command deck. Owen's voice came through one last time, and now Gulrath could hear something underneath the professional calm. Not anger, not excitement, just absolute certainty. Commander Gulrath, your weapons are targeted. Your engines are targeted. Your life support is targeted. I can disable your ship without casualties, or I can turn it into debris. The choice is entirely yours. You have 5 seconds to power down all weapons and surrender. 5, 4. Gulrath looked at his crew, at Skarn, barely 20 years old, at his weapons officer who had a family back home, at the engineering staff who trusted him to keep them alive. 3, 2. He slammed his hand on the console. All weapons offline, we surrender. The human ship stopped counting. The weapon locks remained active, but nothing fired. Silence filled the bridge. Humiliating, complete silence. A wise choice, Owen said. Remain in position. Any attempt to restart weapons or engines will be met with immediate response. Boarding teams are on their way. Gulrath slumped in his chair. 47 successful raids. Years of reputation. Gone in under 2 minutes of actual combat. And the worst part, the part that would haunt him, was that the human ship had never even seemed concerned. Never rushed. Never panicked. It had simply done what it came to do with the casual efficiency of someone performing a routine task. On his view screen, small craft were already launching from the human warship's docking bay. Marines, probably. Coming to take him and his crew prisoner. Coming to take everything he'd built. Skarn spoke quietly from the tactical station. Commander, the humans could have destroyed us in the first second. They had the targeting locks. They had the firepower. They chose not to. Gulrath looked at the young officer. Your point. I don't know if that makes them merciful or terrifying. Gulrath watched the boarding craft approach and realized the answer was probably both. The boarding craft latched onto Gulrath's flagship with mechanical precision. Drevis watched from the Steady Prophet's bridge, his crew clustered around the viewscreen like they were witnessing something historic. Maybe they were. Captain, the human ship is hailing us, Tilly said. Drevis straightened his uniform out of habit, put them through. Owen's face appeared on the screen. He looked younger than Drevis had expected. Maybe 40 standard years. Short dark hair, calm brown eyes, and an expression that managed to be both professional and genuinely concerned. Captain Drevis, I'm Commander Hayes. Are you and your crew injured? No, we're fine, thanks to you. Drevis paused, searching for words that felt adequate. Commander, I don't know how to properly thank you for what you just did. Owen smiled slightly. You already did. Your distress signal reached us 20 minutes ago. We were on patrol 2 systems over. You're welcome to continue to your destination once we've secured the situation here. What about the pirates? They'll be transferred to sector authorities. Their victims will be freed. Owen glanced at something off-screen. Captain, my teams just breached their cargo holds. We found prisoners, 23 individuals from 6 different species. Do you have medical facilities on your vessel? Drevis felt his stomach turn. He'd suspected the raiders had captives, but hearing it confirmed made it real. We have a basic med bay, nothing fancy. Understood. We'll handle their care. I just wanted to keep you informed. Owen nodded respectfully. Safe travels, Captain. The screen went dark. Drevis looked at Rena, who had tears in her 4 eyes. They came for us, she whispered. Humans we'd never met in a sector that isn't even their territory. They just came. Tilly was smiling, but there was something fierce in her expression. Pride, maybe. That's what we do. When someone calls for help, we answer. Down in the pirate flagship's cargo hold, Sam cut through the last lock on the holding cells. The Marine team leader had done this kind of rescue before, but it never got easier. The smell hit her first. Unwashed bodies, fear, despair. Then she saw the prisoners. They huddled in the back of the cells, different species all sharing the same expression of terror, expecting new masters, new pain, more of the endless nightmare their lives had become. My name is Sam, she said, keeping her voice gentle. I'm a human Marine. You're safe now. We're getting you out of here. Nobody moved. Aquilin in the corner, feathers matted and dull, let out a broken laugh. Safe, sure, until you sell us to the next buyer. Sam felt anger flash through her, but she pushed it down. These people had been hurt, betrayed. They had no reason to trust anyone in a uniform, human or otherwise. She holstered her weapon and held up both empty hands. We're not selling you anywhere. We're taking you home, all of you, I promise. A young Felinian, barely more than a cub, started to cry. The sound broke something in the hold's atmosphere. An older prisoner, a Kaltorian male missing 2 of his arms, stepped forward slowly. You promise, humans don't take slaves. Never, Sam said firmly. It's against everything we believe in, against our laws, against our nature. The Kaltorian searched her face for lies and must have found none. He took another step forward, then another. Soon others followed. Sam's team moved in carefully, removing restraints, offering water, speaking softly. The medical officer, Hannah, pushed through with her emergency kit. She was small for a human, barely 5 feet tall, but she moved with authority that made even the largest prisoners step aside. Let me see your injuries, she said, kneeling beside the Felinian cub. I'm a doctor, I'm here to help. Over the next hour, the cargo hold transformed from a prison to a field hospital. Human Marines worked alongside freed captives, distributing food, water, blankets. One soldier taught a group of children a simple Earth song. Another sat with an elderly prisoner who just needed someone to listen, while he talked about the family he'd been stolen from. Lorne, the Kaltorian who'd stepped forward first, found himself sitting next to Sam, while Hannah treated the stumps where his arms had been. Why did you help us? He asked. What do humans gain from this? Sam considered the question seriously. You know what humanity almost did to itself. We nearly destroyed our own planet. Wars, pollution, hatred between our own people based on things that didn't matter. Skin color, where someone was born, what god they prayed to. We almost ended ourselves over stupidity. She gestured at the freed prisoners receiving care. We learned, we grew up, and we decided that if we ever made it to the stars, we'd be better. We'd be the kind of species that helped instead of hurt, that protected instead of exploited. And the weapons, the warship. We also learned that bullies don't stop until someone makes them stop. Being kind doesn't mean being weak. It means being strong enough to choose mercy when you could choose violence. Lorne looked at the humans moving through the hold. They weren't large or particularly intimidating without their armor, but they moved with purpose. with compassion, with the casual competence of people who knew exactly what they were doing and why it mattered. The pirates, Lorne said quietly, what will happen to them? Trial, prison. They'll face justice for what they've done. Not execution. Sam shook her head. We don't kill prisoners, even ones who deserve it. That's a line we decided never to cross. Across the cargo bay, 2 Marines were helping an injured prisoner walk. The prisoner stumbled, and one of the humans caught him easily, steadying him with care. Hannah finished bandaging Lorne's injuries and patted his shoulder gently. You'll need prosthetics. We'll get you fitted at the nearest station. Good ones, human-made, will cover the cost. Why would you do that? She looked genuinely confused by the question. Because you need them, because we can help. Why wouldn't we? Owen's voice came through Sam's comm. Team leader, status report. All prisoners secured and receiving medical care, sir. No serious injuries that won't heal. We're ready to transport them to the Relentless. Good work, bring them home. Sam stood and addressed the freed captives. All right, everyone, we're moving you to our ship. You'll have real food, clean beds, and proper medical care. We'll contact your families, arrange transport to your homes. For those of you who don't have homes to return to, we'll find you safe places to start over. The prisoners looked at each other. Some still seemed afraid to believe. Others were crying openly. The Felinian cub tugged on Sam's sleeve. Will you come with us? The child asked in a small voice. Sam knelt down to the cub's eye level. Every step of the way, I promise you won't be alone. As the Marines began guiding the freed prisoners toward the boarding craft, Lorne watched the humans work. They didn't move like conquerors or saviors expecting gratitude. They moved like people doing a job that needed doing. Like this was just normal for them. He'd been a prisoner for 2 years. He'd forgotten what kindness looked like, what strength without cruelty looked like, what hope felt like. Now, following a human Marine toward freedom, he was starting to remember. 3 days later, the Relentless docked at Station Kepler, a mid-sized trading hub that served as a waypoint for ships traveling between the inner and outer sectors. The station master, a Felinian named Cora, met Owen at the airlock with sector authorities in tow. Commander Hayes, on behalf of the station, I want to express our gratitude. The pirates you captured have been terrorizing this region for months. Owen nodded politely. We were glad to help. The prisoners we recovered are receiving care in our medical bay. We've contacted their families and arranged transport home for most of them. Most of them. 5 individuals don't have homes to return to. Their families were killed or they were taken too long ago to have anyone waiting. We're working with refugee services to find them safe placement. Cora's whiskers twitched with surprise. You're arranging that personally. It's our responsibility. We freed them. We make sure they're truly free, not just transferred to a different kind of prison. The sector marshal, a heavy-set Viren with scarred features, stepped forward. Commander, we need to discuss the transfer of prisoners. There's also the matter of salvage rights for the disabled vessels. The pirates are in Holding Bay 3. As for the ships, we disabled them, but we're not claiming salvage. You're welcome to them. The marshal blinked. You're serious. Those vessels are worth significant credits. We didn't come for profit, Marshal. We came because people needed help. Owen checked his data pad. The pirates' personal logs are in your custody as well, should provide evidence for trial proceedings. After the officials left, Owen made his way through the Relentless to the observation deck. He found Drevis there, standing at the large viewport and staring out at the station. Beautiful view, Owen said, coming to stand beside him. Drevis jumped slightly. Commander, I didn't hear you come in. Sorry, didn't mean to startle you. I heard you were asking to speak with me. The Kaltorian captain turned to face him fully. I wanted to thank you again, and to ask you something that's been bothering me since the rescue. Go ahead. Why do humans have warships like this? Everyone says your people are peaceful, diplomatic. You trade, you negotiate, you explore, but this ship. Drevis gestured vaguely at their surroundings. This is a weapon, a very powerful weapon. Owen was quiet for a moment, choosing his words carefully. Did Tilly tell you much about Earth history? Some, she mentioned wars, said your people had a violent past. That's putting it mildly. We spent thousands of years killing each other over resources, territory, ideology, religion, skin color. We invented weapons that could destroy our entire planet. Almost used them too, more than once. Owen's expression grew distant. We nearly ended ourselves before we even reached the stars. What changed? We grew up slowly. Painfully, we realized that strength without wisdom is just destruction, that having power means having responsibility for how you use it. Owen turned to look at Drevis. We built ships like the Relentless because we knew what happens when good people have no way to stop bad people, when bullies face no consequences, when slavers operate without fear. But you could conquer with ships like this. You could take whatever you wanted. Owen smiled sadly. We could, and that's exactly why we don't. True strength isn't about dominating others. It's about protecting those who can't protect themselves, about choosing mercy when you have the power to choose anything. Drevis studied the human commander's face. How many warships does humanity have? That's classified, but I can tell you that we have far fewer warships than we have hospital ships, science vessels, and colony transports. We build what we value, and we value life more than conquest. The other species in the galaxy don't know this, do they? They don't know what humans are capable of militarily. No, and we prefer to keep it that way. Fear makes people do stupid things. We'd rather be known for our medicine, our engineering, our art. If people only remember us for our weapons, we've failed as a species. A soft chime interrupted them. Owen tapped his comm badge. Hayes here. Commander, you have a visitor. Captain Drevis's communications officer is asking permission to come aboard. Owen glanced at Drevis, who looked equally surprised. Send her to the observation deck. Tilly arrived a few minutes later, slightly out of breath like she'd been running. She stopped when she saw both of them standing there. Captain Drevis, I didn't know you were here. I'm sorry I can come back. No, it's fine, Drevis said. What did you need? Tilly looked at Owen. Commander, I wanted to formally request transfer to the Human Space Service, to serve on the Relentless if you'll have me. Owen raised his eyebrows. You're on a good ship with a good captain, Tilly. Why would you want to leave? Because of what I saw 3 days ago. Because I want to be part of what you're doing, protecting people, making a difference. She straightened her shoulders. I'm a decent communications officer, sir. I speak 17 languages and I'm good in a crisis. I can be useful. Drevis felt something twist in his chest. Tilly was one of his best crew members, but he could see the determination in her eyes. This wasn't impulse. This was purpose. Tilly, he said gently, you don't have to prove anything. You already make a difference on the steady profit. I know, Captain, and I've loved serving with you, but this is something I need to do. Owen looked between them. Captain Drevis, I won't accept her transfer without your blessing. She's your crew member. Drevis closed his 4 eyes briefly. Then he opened them and looked at Tilly, really looked at her, at the hope and determination mixed on her face. You have my blessing and my recommendation. She's one of the best I've ever worked with. Tilly's eyes filled with tears. She crossed the distance between them and hugged him tightly. Thank you, Captain, for everything. Owen waited until she stepped back. Tilly, consider this a preliminary acceptance. You'll need to pass through our training program. It's 6 months intense and not everyone makes it. I understand, sir. Good. Report to personnel tomorrow morning. They'll get you started on the paperwork. After Tilly left, practically floating with excitement, Drevis and Owen stood in comfortable silence for a while. "You're stealing my crew," Drevis said without heat. "She chose to come, there's a difference." "I know," Drevis sighed. "Will you take care of her? She's young, idealistic." "We'll train her properly, keep her safe as much as possible. But I won't lie to you, Captain. We respond to distress calls in dangerous places. There's always risk. Less risk with humans watching her back than with an old cargo hauler." Owen extended his hand in the human gesture of respect. Drevis took it with one of his 4 hands. "If you ever need anything, you know how to reach us," Owen said. "Just keep doing what you're doing. Keep coming when people call for help. The galaxy needs more of that." As Drevis left the Relentless and returned to his own ship, he looked back at the human warship one last time. From the outside, it still looked like a weapon, but now he understood it was something else. It was a promise, a shield, a reminder that somewhere out there, someone was listening for cries for help. And when they heard those cries, they came running. News traveled fast in the outer sectors, especially news about pirates getting dismantled in under 2 minutes. Within a week, every station, colony, and ship within 20 light-years knew the story. The details got wilder with each retelling, but the core remained the same. 3 pirate vessels against 1 human warship. The humans won without breaking a sweat. Tix, a Quillan journalist who specialized in sector security issues, sat in a small cafe on Station Kepler interviewing survivors. The freed prisoners had agreed to talk, and their stories were remarkably consistent. "They treated us like people," said a Felinian merchant who'd been held captive for 8 months. "Not cargo, not problems, people who mattered. The human Marines gave us their own rations when the ship's supplies ran low," another survivor added. "Shared their quarters. One of them stayed up all night with my daughter when she had nightmares. Just sat there, telling her stories about Earth until she fell asleep." Tix scribbled notes furiously. This wasn't the usual rescue story. Military forces rescued prisoners all the time, but they were usually processed, debriefed, and handed off to bureaucrats. The humans had apparently adopted the freed captives, made them part of the ship's temporary family. "What about the pirates?" Tix asked. "How were they treated?" Lorne, the Kaltorian who'd lost his arms, considered the question. "Fairly. The humans kept them restrained but unharmed, fed them, gave them medical care for injuries sustained during the battle. No revenge, no cruelty, just processed them like criminals awaiting trial." "That seems almost too merciful for slavers." "I thought so too," Lorne admitted. "But one of the Marines explained it to me. She said that treating prisoners humanely wasn't about the prisoners deserving it. It was about humans deserving to still call themselves civilized. That the moment they started treating captives cruelly, even ones who'd committed atrocities, they became no better than the people they were fighting." Tix published the story 2 days later. It went viral across the sector networks. Within a month, 3 more major publications had picked it up. By the end of the 2nd month, the Galactic news services were running features on human military philosophy and capabilities. The Viren Council convened an emergency session to discuss implications for sector security. Council Representative Morth stood before the assembly, 4 of his 6 arms gesturing at the data displays. "Colleagues, we face an uncomfortable truth. A single human warship accomplished what our patrols have failed to achieve in years. Pirate activity in the affected region has dropped by 70%. Not because we increased enforcement, but because criminals fear encountering humans." An older council member spoke up. "Are you suggesting we request human military assistance?" "I'm suggesting we examine why their approach works. They patrol with minimal ships. They respond decisively to threats. They treat rescues as moral imperatives, not political calculations." Morth pulled up combat footage that had been leaked from the pirate ships. "Look at this. Precision, restraint, overwhelming capability held in check by discipline. When was the last time our forces showed this level of competence?" The chamber fell silent. Nobody wanted to admit it, but the comparison was damning. "We need reform," Morth continued. "Better training, higher standards, a focus on protection rather than just enforcement. And perhaps we should stop viewing humans as just diplomatic curiosities. They've clearly been preparing for scenarios we haven't seriously considered." Halfway across the sector, a different conversation was taking place. Admiral Crane, commander of the Human Space Service's Outer Sector Operations, reviewed Owen's mission report in his office. "Thoughts?" he asked his chief of staff. "Textbook response. Minimal force, maximum effect. 0 casualties on any side. The rescued prisoners are all placed or en route to their homes. The pirates are in custody awaiting trial. I don't see any issues." Crane nodded slowly. "I'm not concerned about issues. I'm concerned about consequences. We just showed the galaxy what a single human warship can do. That changes the political calculus. Sir, we've always known this day would come. We can't hide our capabilities forever." "No, but we could control the narrative. Now it's out there, unfiltered, spreading." Crane brought up the news reports flooding in from across the sector. "Look at this. Some species are calling us saviors, others are calling us a potential threat. Both views are dangerous. What's the alternative? Let the pirates operate unchecked, ignore distress calls?" "Of course not, but we need to be strategic about our next moves." Crane highlighted several recent distress calls on his star map. "We're receiving triple our normal request rate for assistance. Everyone wants a human warship in their sector now. We have 12 combat-capable vessels in active service. We can't be everywhere." "Then we do what we've always planned. We share knowledge, not weapons. Help other species build better security forces. Train their personnel in our tactics and philosophy." Crane considered this. "You're talking about a major commitment of resources and personnel." "We made a commitment when we decided to maintain these warships. To protect, not to conquer. That protection doesn't just mean showing up after crimes are committed. It means preventing them by raising the overall security level across the sector." "The Council will have opinions." "The Council always has opinions, but the data supports this approach. Every region where we've shared tactical knowledge and training methods has seen measurable improvements in security outcomes." Crane made his decision. "Draft a proposal, training programs for willing species, tactical consultation, crisis response protocols, but make it clear we're not sharing weapons technology, not reactor designs, not targeting systems, not shield configurations. We share the philosophy and methods, not the tools." "Understood, sir." Back on the Relentless, Owen gathered his senior staff for a briefing. The ship was preparing to leave Station Kepler and resume patrol duties. "New orders from Fleet Command," he announced. "We're being tasked with an additional mission. 3-month rotation training sector security forces in advanced tactical response." Bryn, the tactical officer, raised an eyebrow. "We're becoming teachers. We're becoming partners. The goal is to improve overall security capabilities so we don't have to respond to every crisis personally. We help other species develop their own effective response capabilities." "Will they be receptive to that?" "Some will, some won't. But it's better than either leaving them vulnerable or creating dependency on human intervention." His communications officer, newly transferred Tilly, spoke up from her station. "Sir, we're getting another distress call. Merchant convoy under attack, 2 systems over." Owen checked the navigation plot. "Time to intercept. 40 minutes at maximum speed." "Are there any local security forces in range?" "Yes, sir. A Felinian patrol ship is responding. They'll arrive about the same time we will." Owen made a decision that felt right. Signal the Felinian patrol. Offer to coordinate response with them, not replace them. This is their sector. We're backup, not primary responders. His first officer smiled. Starting the partnership early, sir. Might as well send the message. As the Relentless powered up for the jump, Owen thought about the cargo ship captain they'd saved, about freed prisoners starting new lives, about young officers like Tilly choosing to serve because they'd seen what service could mean. Humanity hadn't asked to be seen as guardians. They just responded when someone called for help. Now they had to figure out how to live up to the reputation they'd accidentally built, how to be strong without being feared, how to help without creating dependency. It wasn't a problem that could be solved with weapons or tactics. It required wisdom, patience, and a commitment to being better tomorrow than they were today. The ship jumped to FTL, carrying its crew toward another crisis, another chance to prove that power and compassion weren't opposing forces. That strength mattered most when it was used to protect the vulnerable, not to dominate them. Behind them, the galaxy was changing, slowly, imperfectly, but changing nonetheless. 6 months after the Relentless disabled 3 pirate vessels in under 2 minutes, the ripple effects continued spreading across the sector. Pirate attacks had dropped by 60% in the outer regions, not because human warships patrolled every system, but because criminals could never be sure when they might encounter one. The HSS Relentless arrived at the merchant convoy under attack to find the Felinian patrol ship already engaged. Captain Willis of the patrol vessel had positioned his ship between the raiders and the convoy, shields straining under concentrated fire. He was outgunned, but holding position with stubborn courage. Felinian vessel, this is Commander Hayes of the Relentless. We're in position to assist, transmitting tactical coordination protocols. Willis's face appeared on screen, relief evident despite his species' typically stoic expressions. Appreciate the backup, Commander. These raiders have been hitting convoys for weeks. We've been trying to pin them down. Then let's end their run today. I'm sending you targeting priorities. You take the lead ship. We'll handle the other 2. On your mark. The battle lasted 4 minutes. Not because the human ship needed that long, but because Owen deliberately coordinated with Willis, letting the Felinian captain direct the engagement. When it was over, all 3 raider vessels were disabled, their crews contained, and not a single convoy ship had been lost. Outstanding work, Captain Willis, Owen said over the comm. Your positioning prevented them from scattering. That made our job much easier. Willis seemed surprised by the praise. Commander, your weapons did most of the work. Weapons are tools. Your tactics created the conditions for success. That matters just as much. After the raiders were transferred to Felinian custody, Owen invited Willis aboard the Relentless for a debriefing. They sat in the conference room with Owen's tactical officer, Bryn, and Willis's first officer. How long have you been dealing with this raider group? Owen asked. 3 months. They hit and run before we can respond effectively. We've damaged their ships a few times but never captured any. Bryn pulled up tactical displays. Your response times are actually excellent. The problem is your weapons tracking. You're using older targeting systems that can't maintain locks during evasive maneuvers. Budget constraints, Willis admitted. Better systems cost more than our sector can afford. What if we offered training instead? Your crews are skilled. You just need better coordination protocols. Owen gestured at the displays. We've developed communication and tactical systems that don't require expensive hardware, just better coordination between ships and crew stations. Willis's ears perked up with interest. You'd share that? We'd be happy to. In fact, we're setting up training programs across the sector, 3-week rotations. Your crew could learn our coordination protocols, advanced tactical maneuvers, crisis response procedures, all the knowledge and techniques free of charge. Why would you do that? Owen leaned back in his chair. Because we can't patrol every system. We have 12 warships covering sectors that span hundreds of light years. But if we help you and others like you become more effective, everyone benefits. safer trade routes, fewer casualties, less crime. And you get nothing in return. We get a safer galaxy for everyone, including humans. That's not nothing. 2 weeks later, the first joint training program began on Station Kepler. 50 officers from 12 different species gathered in the converted cargo bay that served as a classroom. The human instructor, a veteran tactical officer named Ruth, stood before them. "Good morning. I'm Lieutenant Ruth Chen, and for the next 3 weeks I'm going to teach you how to think like human tactical officers. Not because our way is the only way, but because it might give you new tools for old problems." A VRIN officer in the front row raised his hand. "Will you teach us your targeting systems?" "No, those are classified, but I will teach you the principles behind them, how to prioritize targets, how to manage multiple threats simultaneously, how to disable rather than destroy when the situation allows." Ruth brought up a simulation on the main screen. "Let's start with a scenario. 3 hostile vessels attacking a merchant convoy. You have 1 patrol ship. What do you do?" For the next 3 weeks, the students worked through scenarios, learned coordination protocols, practiced crisis decision-making. Ruth pushed them hard but fairly, treating every species' unique capabilities as potential advantages rather than limitations. On the final day, one of the students, a young Quillen officer named Pix, approached Ruth after class. "Lieutenant, I have a question. Why do humans care so much about protecting others? Your species could dominate the sector with your technology. Why don't you?" Ruth considered her answer carefully. "Because we remember what it's like to be weak, to need help and not receive it. Every human alive carries the history of our species in their cultural memory. We know what unchecked power does, what cruelty looks like, what happens when the strong exploit the weak instead of protecting them. And you think you can change the galaxy? No, but we can change our small part of it. And if others see that and decide to make similar changes in their parts, maybe the galaxy changes itself. One choice at a time, one act of protection at a time, one decision to be better than we were yesterday." Pix was quiet for a moment. "I came to this training because my captain ordered me to. I thought it would be humans showing off their superiority, but it's not that at all, is it? No, it's us sharing what we learned the hard way, hopping you don't have to learn it the same way we did." Back aboard the Relentless, Owen reviewed the training program reports with satisfaction. Graduation rates were high. Feedback was positive. More importantly, the participating officers were already showing improved performance in simulated scenarios. Tilly entered the bridge, now wearing the full uniform of a communications officer after completing her training. "Sir, incoming message from Admiral Crane, priority channel." "Put him through." The Admiral's face appeared on screen. "Commander Hayes, I'm looking at the reports from your sector. Pirate activity down. Trade volumes up. Security cooperation between species at an all-time high. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it." "Thank you, sir. The credit belongs to the local forces. We're just providing support." "Don't sell yourself short, but I do have new orders for you. We're expanding the training program. You'll be rotating to 4 more sectors over the next year, teaching, coordinating, building partnerships." "Understood, sir. The Relentless is ready." After the Admiral signed off, Owen stood at the view screen, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the officers they'd trained were making their sectors safer. Somewhere, freed prisoners were rebuilding their lives. Somewhere, pirates were deciding that the risk wasn't worth the reward anymore. The Relentless couldn't be everywhere, but it didn't have to be. The idea of it, the promise it represented, was spreading faster than any ship could travel. Bryn joined him at the view screen. "Penny for your thoughts, Commander." "Just thinking about how far we've come. A few months ago, most species saw humans as harmless traders. Now they're asking us to teach them tactics. And in a few more months, they'll be teaching each other. That's the goal, right? to work ourselves out of a job. Owen smiled. That's exactly the goal. The day when human warships aren't needed because everyone can protect themselves. That's the victory we're working toward. Think we'll see it in our lifetime? Probably not. But maybe the cadets we're training will see it in theirs. Maybe their students will see it in theirs. That's how real change happens. Not in dramatic moments, but in countless small choices to be better, to help more, to protect those who need protection. The ship's sensors chimed. Another distress call, this time from a mining colony reporting equipment failure and requesting assistance. Not pirates, not violence, just people who needed help. Set course, Owen ordered, best possible speed. The Relentless turned toward the colony, its dark hull cutting through space with quiet purpose. Not hunting for glory, not seeking conquest, just a group of humans who decided that strength meant something only when it was used to help others. Behind them, across the sector, officers from a dozen species were applying their new training, making their regions safer, proving that cooperation worked better than isolation, showing that the best defense was a galaxy where everyone looked out for each other. The human warship was just one ship, but the idea it represented, the promise it kept every time it responded to a call for help, was becoming something larger, a movement, a philosophy, a better way. And in the end, that mattered more than any weapon.